few years ago, I matched with a girl named Francesca on Tinder. She was adventurous, funny, and unlike anyone I'd ever met. When I asked about a rooftop photo on her profile, she revealed it had been taken at an abandoned hospital on the edge of town. Then she suggested something unexpected. For our first date, we should explore it together, at night. It sounded insane, so naturally, I agreed. We met up and drove to the hospital. After parking on a hidden dead-end street, we slipped through a broken basement window and entered the building. Immediately, the place felt wrong. Dark hallways stretched endlessly in every direction. The silence was overwhelming. Francesca seemed completely comfortable. She navigated the building as if she'd been there hundreds of times. Meanwhile, I was trying not to freak out. Then we heard it. A door slamming somewhere down the corridor. Both of us froze. The sound echoed through the darkness. We shut off our flashlights and listened. Another loud bang, much closer. We ran, up stairwells, through hallways, deeper into the hospital. At first we assumed it might be another explorer, but there were no flashlights, no voices, just footsteps, following us. Eventually, we reached a rooftop section of the building and stopped to catch our breath. After calming down, Francesca led me through a broken window into a massive room below. We carefully crossed narrow wooden planks suspended over a 10-foot drop. At the center was a pillar where we sat and talked. For a few minutes, everything felt normal again. Then we heard footsteps, directly below us. We aimed our flashlights downward, and there he was, a man, middle-aged, dressed entirely in black. He stood at the base of the pillar, staring up at us, smiling. Then he spoke, in a deep voice. "Come on down." Neither of us moved. I asked if he was a police officer. He ignored me completely, still smiling. "Come on down." Fear hit us instantly. We stood and started moving back across the narrow plank. Halfway across, the man suddenly rushed through a nearby doorway. He was coming after us. We ran, through hallways, down staircases, toward the exit. Every few moments we'd hear doors slamming somewhere behind us. Then footsteps. Getting closer. He somehow kept finding us. We finally reached the basement and climbed through the broken window we had entered from. The entire time, I expected a hand to grab my legs from behind. But it never happened. We sprinted across the parking lot and jumped into my car. The moment the doors locked, we both sat there breathing heavily. Neither of us spoke for almost a minute. We had no idea who that man was, or what he wanted. But one thing was certain. He wasn't security, and he definitely wasn't friendly. Ironically, surviving that nightmare together created an instant bond between us. We ended up talking for hours afterward, even dated for a few months. Today, we're still good friends. But there is one thing we both agree on. Neither of us will ever set foot inside that abandoned hospital again. 3 years ago, I came dangerously close to death. It started with what seemed like a severe illness. Painful headaches, confusion, nausea, extreme fatigue. I later learned it was bacterial meningitis. But before I received that diagnosis, something happened that terrified me. One afternoon, while lying sick in bed at home, I heard a child's voice call out from downstairs. "Mom." The problem? I don't have children. Thinking I was imagining things, I dragged myself out of bed and looked downstairs. Nobody was there. A little later, I heard it again. This time it said, "Hello?" I immediately called my husband. I was panicking. I told him I thought I was hallucinating. Hearing how frightened I was, he left work and rushed home to take me to the hospital. By the time we arrived, doctors confirmed the diagnosis. Untreated, it could have become fatal. I was admitted immediately and started on antibiotics. That night, after my husband left, I drifted into an uneasy sleep. Then I saw him, my ex-husband, standing beside my hospital bed. He looked exactly as I remembered. He talked about my current husband, insulted him, threatened him. Then he gently patted my head and rubbed my forehead while staring down at me. The entire encounter felt incredibly real. Eventually, he walked away. I woke up. The room was dark, but something was different. A chair sat directly beside my bed, pulled up close. It hadn't been there before. Too exhausted to think clearly, I fell back asleep. The next morning, I told a nurse about the vivid nightmare. She looked confused. Then she said something I'll never forget. "That wasn't a dream." My heart sank. She explained that a man claiming to be my cousin had visited me late that night. I stared at her. "I don't have any cousins here." The nurse looked concerned. "What was his name?" When she answered, my blood ran cold. David. My ex-husband's name. Apparently, he had somehow learned I was hospitalized and visited while I was heavily medicated. Doctors later suggested the antibiotics and illness may have blurred the line between sleeping and waking. Maybe that's true. Maybe some of the threats I heard never happened. Or maybe they did. I texted David demanding answers. He claimed he never threatened anyone and insisted he only visited to check on me. I never fully believed him. To this day, I still don't know which parts were real and which parts were products of my condition. But knowing that he stood beside my bed while I drifted in and out of consciousness, that's unsettling enough. Have you ever seen something that shouldn't exist, only to discover that someone else saw it too? I've worked as a nurse in several hospitals over the years. I've seen things that stay with you. But nothing prepared me for what happened at that geriatric ward. It was supposed to be just another job. It wasn't. I was running on almost no sleep. The ward was quiet, the way hospitals go quiet at night when the world outside stops caring. Most of the patients knew me by name. That kept me grounded. But one patient was different. Her name was Lena. Every single time I entered her room, she said the same thing. "There are voices, and there's a man, dressed in black, standing over there. He's watching, waiting, smiling." I told myself it was the illness. I held her hand. I told her she was safe. Eventually, she slept. I should have listened more carefully. The ward had gone completely still. I was alone in the linen room, door shut, not a sound. Then, I heard something. I turned around. Nothing. I told myself it was exhaustion. I turned back to my cart. That's when I felt it. A hand, a large hand gripping my shoulder. I spun around so fast I nearly dropped everything. No one was there. I stepped into the hallway. Empty. No nurses, no patients, no sounds. Just silence. A few minutes later I finished and turned toward the door. And I screamed. Standing on the other side of the glass window was a man, dressed entirely in black, completely still, just staring. smiling. Not a normal smile, the kind that tells you instantly that something is deeply, horribly wrong. I fell backward onto the floor. My screams echoed through the ward. When I looked up, he was gone. My screaming had woken her. When I walked in, she immediately started talking about the voices, about the figure in the corner. And I made the mistake of asking, "The man you keep seeing, is he smiling?" "How did you know?" "Get me out of here! He's coming! He's coming!" I handed in my notice the very next day. I've never experienced hallucinations. I've never been diagnosed with any mental illness. Yes, I was exhausted. But exhaustion doesn't explain the weight of a hand on your shoulder when no one is there. Maybe my mind played tricks on me after hearing Lena's stories all night. Maybe. But I still remember exactly how it felt, and I will never forget his face. The man dressed in black, the one Lena had been warning me about all night, smiling.